iFILM, London. iFILM,
George, very accomplished performance tonight. There's so many highlights during the fight. You had him reeling at the end of the 6, and then the knockdown at the end of the 12. When you've been in with a boxer of this calibre, you must be delighted.
Award-winning iFILM.
Yeah, I am. Glenn Johnson is without doubt the toughest opponent I've ever faced. I've never ever hit someone so hard, so often, so clean, and then just keep coming. And I learnt a lot tonight from that fight. I've got so many positives to take from that fight. I made a few mistakes, but I think I showed composure, class, to correct those mistakes and to totally change a fight. So yeah, I'm really, really happy.
George, was it disheartening at any stage to throw some of the punches you were throwing? I mean, clearly powerful punches, and for Johnson to, shrug them off.
You know, not disheartening, but I held my hands up. I shot my bolt a few times. I emptied the tank when I didn't need to. I was landing flush shots, and he looked like he was gone, completely gone. And part of me thinks he was, but he survived. And I think the bell saved him on 1 or 2 occasions. And then, it was about recovering, getting back to my boxing, and then wait and then pick the openings. And if I do catch him again, put it on him. But there was a few times, even in the first round, where I thought this is over. And credit to Johnson, he just kept back and kept on it.
Were you pleased that you say you made a few mistakes tonight, but were you pleased at how focused you did stay, because you clearly were? And what did he say to you afterwards?
He didn't say much. He said, "Good fight." I just see his team outside, and they gave me high praise, and they said that they were very, very impressed, and I've got a bright future. And I got full credit to Glenn Johnson. He is a genuine world-class fighter. He always wasn't far off coming back into the fight. I think, if I made a mistake, he was there or thereabouts. He had a second wind, a third wind, a fourth wind, and there was times where I was absolutely nailing him. And I think pretty much 95% of the other super middleweight fighters in the world would have gone, but he stood there strong and sort of blinked an eye, spat a bit, and then came back forward again. So it's a learning fight for me.
Did you expect to win so convincingly?
Yeah, I did, and I genuinely thought I would stop him. I didn't underestimate how good his chin was, but man, that guy can take a punch. He was tough. He was tough to break down. Obviously, he's got a very tight guard. You had to be punch specific. You had to be very clever with my punches. I couldn't just rain in punches because he was covering pretty much all the sort of wild shots. Tucks up well. Couldn't really unload to the body properly. Erratically, catch his elbow or something. So I had to pick those shots correctly. But I think I'm really happy with my performance.
Frank, Carl Froch and Glenn Johnson 18 months ago went to a majority decision, didn't they? Yeah. How does that? What's your view on George's performance comparison?
I thought George really boxed well tonight, and I thought the first couple of rounds, and Adam and I sort of had a sort of brief chat in the ring afterwards. I thought that the first couple of rounds, George was unloading with everything, and you're sitting there, you're thinking, don't want him running out of gas. This guy is tough. He does, and the first round he just sort of he was typical Glenn Johnson, just sucked it up, took it all, and then the next round came out. And I thought, he's going to be top of his game with him. He is teeth tough. He is what they call him, the road warrior. Tough. He's a hard fighter to beat. He's a hard fighter to keep on top of all the time, because he's always dangerous. George chipped a couple of right hands in the fight. He caught him a couple of times, so he's always there. You have to be 100% focused. And from my perspective, watching George fight was that he did maintain his focus. A couple of times he slipped, but most of the time he was there on it. And he's got 12 really good rounds under his belt with a world-class fighter who, as you just said, give Carl Froch a lot of problems. So, and you've got to take into consideration, this year George has only had 2 fights. He's had a couple of bits of bad luck. You know, he had the world title fight, he had to pull out of that. Sustained that cut in America, which was an excellent performance he had in America. So, all in all, he's ended the year on a high note and hopefully set himself up for 2013, and I think it'd be a lucky 13 for him. I really do. I do think George will go on and win a world title. I really do.
How important was George's movement throughout that fight?
Yeah, his movement was everything, just maintaining the distance that he wanted to be at. And it was probably the most impressive thing about tonight is that he set off on the wrong track right from the start by loading up. And it was probably my worst nightmare coming back to revisit me. And it's so difficult, having done that, to get back to a totally different type of flow. And there were times when he did it beautifully. He had Glenn not knowing which way he was going to appear from. And he showed tonight what he's going to end up being as a fighter. He made the wrong decisions at some times, but you know, you can't win a fight unless you're in one, as someone keeps telling me. And ultimately it ended up being a fantastic performance with a few unnecessary bolt shooting sessions throughout.
That's the devil in it. I mean, that's what it is. But yeah, I thought what also was impressive for me was the head movement. There were times where George was really like just standing in front of him, he was slipping side to side and picking his shots, and he done it really well. And you know, he should be proud of his performance tonight. You know, he is a world-class fighter. There's no doubt about it, and he will go from strength to strength. Fight again in February with Billy, not against each other, but with Billy, there'll be a double header, and we'll move on from there. And it's my job to hopefully get the right opportunity that Adam agrees with me on, and then we move for it.
George, what Adam was talking about there, the way you got into the fight in the first couple of rounds, is that a streak you think will always be in you?
Yeah, it's inevitable. You know, if I see a punch, I'll take it, and if I got the guy going, you know, I'll put it on him. I'm a very good finisher, I think. I truly believe that, as I say, 95, maybe more, a higher percentage of super middleweights wouldn't have sustained the punishment Johnson did. And it was just that the guy is so tough that he managed to get through the rounds. A stoppage, I did go in there with a stoppage in mind. In the end, it wasn't to be. And I'm happy that I was able to show another side, not necessarily of myself, because I think I've boxed clever before, but to be able to change and adapt during a fight, which I mentioned before, is what you've got to do at the highest level. Sometimes, even when you're winning the rounds, if I'm spending too much energy or I'm taking unnecessary risks, you need to change. And I got back to my boxing, more head movement, as Frank says, picked my shots a lot better, was much quicker, and then you know, give Johnson angles, and then you break his heart, and then you can start trying to break his chin, rather than just, you know, loading up, throwing the big shots. They might land, but if he's expecting them, then they're not going to have the same effect.
Who would you like to face next, George? In an ideal world?
I'm not sure. You know, I'd like to have a think, see what's out there. I ain't going to box again this year, and as I say, 2013, I'd like to have a crack at a world title. And there's lots of good fighters out there at my weight who hold a belt. Whether I get a shot at one of them straight away, I very much doubt. But we'd like to be as busy as possible. Frank says he's going to get us out in February, so it'd be I should imagine another top 10 contender. Yeah. And it's another step in the right direction. It'll probably be someone totally different, where I have to come up with totally new answers and improve as a fighter again. I love a challenge. I love to work hard. That's what I definitely had to do tonight. And you know, I'll have a nice Christmas, but I'll be training. I'll be in the gym, and I'll be ready to go as soon as we're ready in February.
And what do you think that performance will say to the rest of the super middleweight division?
That I'm here, that I'm a contender, and I'm someone to not just keep an eye on, someone to fear. I think I'll give anyone in the world a decent fight. A lot of the top boys I know I'll beat, but I'll try and be nice about it, and you know.
I think the thing is, although he got the W tonight, it's how he did it. You know, the work rate's phenomenal, that's, there's a bit of a work rate that you set tonight, and that's good stuff. And you think to yourself, everybody's got different styles. But I can look at some of the other fighters out there and thinking, George fighting them now, you've got to really fancy him. You really got to fancy him. He will win a world title. There's no doubt about it, and I think he'll do it by the end of the year. Might be his next fight. It's not going to be a world title fight next fight, but by the end of the year he'll be there.
George, you said 6 months. 6 months ago you were in a pretty dark place because of the injuries and pulling out of the fights. I mean, how do you feel now? Or how do you feel about the way the year has ended?
I said if when the Glenn Johnson fight was made, that this is a step into world-class boxing. I'm going to go out there and put on a dominant display, box well, and then I can look back at this year and say I wasn't as active as I wanted to be, but I've made a massive step up, and now I'm a world-class fighter, and I feel I've achieved that. I think, I've missed out on the world title fight, so I believe I would have won. And
if it was meant to happen, it would have happened. So
yeah.
We move on from it.
So, but I can look back at this year and say I've only had 2 fights, but I've had 2 successful fights. I've made big improvements in my boxing. I've put a lot of quality work in the gym, which is essentially the main thing. And then it's just about like nights like tonight to come out and show it. I think I showed some good things tonight.
He's the most improved super middleweight in the country. No doubt about it.
It's a real stepping stone tonight, fighting Glenn Johnson, isn't it? When you look at the calibre of opponents he's had in the past, George, and the way he dominated the fight.
I think so. He's boxed at the highest level for a long time, and the light heavyweight as well. And it's impressive to look through, his record of the good fighters he's been in with and beaten. And that was something new for me tonight as well, as I was boxing a famous fighter, a Hall of Famer. Someone who, as a kid, you would look up to, and I still look up to him now. But when you get in the ring and you face these guys, you can't have too much respect for him, and just respect him as a fighter, and then go in there and do the job. So I think it's something nice and new for me.
Frank, is the domestic scene now completely behind George?
I can't really see anybody there at the moment that you would. And it's not being disrespectful, but I think we've moved on from him.
I've beaten everyone in the domestic.
Yes, and he's done it, and on to the next one. And it's it's really now about making the right moves at the right time, and it's about keeping busy and keeping focused, and that opening will happen, and when it happens, we'll pounce and do the business in the ring and secure the prize. And it's not just about winning the world title; it's about being able to defend it, being good enough to do it. You see guys fight for titles, win them, get beat straight away, or don't win them. George is one of those fighters that you can see is going to have some longevity about him. It's one of the best divisions always for the British fighters when we look over the years and the footsteps that he's following in. Joe Kawasaki, but the Benz, the Eubanks, and all those guys. They're tough acts to follow, but you know what? He's capable of doing it. He shows a lot of maturity, and he can fight. Because you can do all those things, but if you can't fight, it's not good, but you can fight. But
such a convincing win by George tonight, Adam. What would you like to see in terms of fights for George in 2013?
Well, now it's the real tricky time. Now it's picking the right fights against the guys that will take it, in the right manner, because he is knocking on the door of world titles now, and so we know that this is now a difficult time, because it's one thing saying, yeah, we want to fight him, but they might not want to take the fight. So no doubt Frank and I will bang our heads together. We'll come up with the right challenge for him, the right challenge that takes him that next step closer to becoming a world champion.
What do you feel the big difference with George is now that's got him to such a point where he could be thinking about world titles next year?
The experience that he's had, the experience that he's got for a 16-fight professional is phenomenal. I don't know how many 16-fighters there have been out there that have experienced as much as George has in the ring, and also has overcome as many challenges in the ring that George had to in 16 fights. When you look at the DeGale fight and tonight and what happened to Kenny Anderson and all of it, you put it all together.
That fight in America, it was.
The last fight, Francisco Sierra. The first time he ever had notice. He had 7 weeks' notice for that. And this is a guy that took Don George to a draw, who ended up being in the final eliminator for Carl's title. So George is taking care of really good fighters whilst learning. He's learning on the job, and that deserves a lot of respect. because we can't sit down and heap too much praise, because we've got to get back in the gym and look for the next level of improvement.
Adam, excuse me, with the first round when George really went for it, and you may have had a word with him at the end of that round, didn't you? You caught him in the 6th and in the 12th, and you had a right go in the 6th and the 12th. Was that under orders, or did you have to have another word?
What, him having a go?
I mean, you know, catching Johnson and then looking for a finish, possibly.
You hurt him in the
No,
sixth.
George was looking for. George was clearly
For a
looking for the
knockout.
finish
Yeah,
from the first bell to the last bell.
Yeah.
My job was to try and encourage him onto the right track of going through the fight strategically.
No, sorry, I don't mean like in the theory of it. I mean like when you caught him in the first round, you're really going to finish him off, and I was personally a little bit surprised, thinking, can he do it? But you obviously thought you could, and then the 6th round it came round. And
Who thought he could? He did.
I'm not trying to be
Oh,
controversial.
no. I'm just saying. I'm watching him thinking, that's enough. Stop now. That's enough. Stop now.
That's
All right, away you go, son. I'll speak to you at the end of the
I mean,
round.
the 12th round it probably didn't matter so much because you know it's the last round. But in the 6th, it was like nice
If
symmetry.
the bell hadn't have gone in the 6th, he might
was
have
hurt.
stopped him.
Oh,
He was
nice
hurt.
symmetry
He was
because he
hurt.
was 1, 6 and 12.
Yeah.
That was the plan.
Yeah.
Johnson was definitely there at the end of the sixth. Yeah, he was.
He was a very strong defensive fighter, wasn't he, throughout then, Johnson? Did you feel you had him at particular stages during the fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt I had him in the 1st, the 6th and the 12th.
I know that there were key moments, but you just kept pressing, didn't you? Throughout, you just, that just shows how much you can.
Yeah, you know, he's like a lot of good fighters. If you tee off on him, he was soaking it up all night long. I had to encourage him to punch so that I could punch with him, and the shots that landed as he was attacking, they seemed to have more of an effect. And then from then he would clamp up again, and it would be hard to nail him. To try and encourage him to punch the whole time when he was under pressure.
He sits in his arms. He's got great defence. He tucks up. He's got his arms down by his elbows down there. He just sits there. He's a real good old pro.
Was it the 7th round when he came out and just sat on the ropes
Yeah.
the whole round?
He just
Thinking, go on, have your way, I'll come back in it.
Well, obviously the fitness level's there, but he won't be able to do what he does at the age of 44 if he wasn't a real competent professional. I mean, you know, he's one of those guys that you've got to look at and learn from. I mean, he is a true, you know, a true. I'm not saying he's a warrior. He's a true, competent boxer. He's a tough fighter for anyone to fight.
George, you said going into this that you wanted to take his momentum away, create your own momentum, and be different, and you know, vary your work. On a scale of kind of 1 to 10, how happy were you that you did that tonight? That
At times, it was 10 out of 10. I was taking his jab off him with foot movement, with even with hand defences. I was managing to get my jab through his guard, which in the first round was very tough. I had to change it, body, head, change the angle of the jab to get that through. And then there was times where I probably threw too many punches and was, you know, looking for a breather. He's an experienced man, he probably sensed that, and then he'd apply pressure, and it was up to me to deal with it properly. Sometimes I was pulling out high and getting caught with right hands. Sometimes I was being a bit lazy and letting him land body shots, like straight jabs to the body, straight right hands to the body, which, you know, none of them really hurt, but they're some cumulative effects. You know, as the rounds go on, you'll start to feel it. So it's about stamping those little things out. But other than that, you know, I think I did a lot of the stuff well, and I got the momentum of the fight well underway, especially as the later rounds creeped in. I started to really sharpen up, and it sort of, I think, as I say, it broke his heart, and he seemed to get slower as I got quicker.
Frank, should people read into the fact that George beat Glenn Johnson so much more convincingly than Carl Froch did?
Yeah.
What should they read into that?
Well, I say that because he did. I mean, you know, all right, we know it's a year on, but I just think that, you know, Carl Froch has fought at a much higher level than George has. He's been world champion, and this was his 16th fight. That's what you've got to look at. You've got to just look at that and think about it. It's, you know, he is a tough guy. He gives everybody problems, and I think he's only been stopped once in his career. That was 17 years ago. And you've got to look at it. You've got to look at it for what it is. It was a really good solid performance, great work rate, a lot of good things in there, a couple of things to work on, which Adam and George, I'm sure, will know better than I do. But a real good performance, and from my point of view, you know, it convinces me that, you know, I made the right decision in talking to them both to come and sign with our promotional outfit. You know, I'm really pleased he's part of our team. I'm pleased to be involved in promoting him. You know, he's besides the boxing, he's a gentleman. He's got great. The people love him. The fans love him. He's very respectful to everybody, and it doesn't get any better than that. And if he gets to where I think he'll get to, he'll make a lot of money and hopefully be a superstar.
I will be.
Is there any special plans for Christmas, George?
71st fight,
Say again?
71st fight for Glenn Johnson. George's
Well,
full
that's the
sister.
difference, and that's all the experience. A guy there is always dangerous. You always got to be wary of. You know, 12 rounds, you've got to be focused. A couple of times you've got clips, but hey, you know, that's boxing. Focus, 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 and he stayed that way, and it was a really good performance.
There's not many pressure fighters in the super middleweight business. Probably there's not many pressure fighters in world boxing that can breathe on you like Glenn Johnson can. And tonight, George probably had to work at a much more frantic tempo than he ever will do in his point in his career. Anybody that stands off and anyone that wants to stand off and box or punch with George at a long range hasn't got a prayer with him. The only chance you've got is to be a Glenn Johnson and try and get right up inside him and try and knock him off the game plan. And he proved now today that he can rub out that type of pressure. But anyone that stands off George, the shots that landed on Glenn tonight would take care of pretty much all the super middleweights out there.
What's it like for you topping the bill tonight, the London XL? A lot of fans here supporting you, George.
It was a great atmosphere, really, really nice. I came here for the Olympic boxing. I knew that, you know, you get a good atmosphere here. There was a lot of people in there. The arena was buzzing, and it's lovely. I boxed in London 3 times now on big shows, all main events, and it's really nice.
The fans come out, they like you, and they'll be in London again the next one.
Any special plans for Christmas, George?
Yes, my first Christmas as a married man, so we'll have Christmas at home, and then we'll sort of go to the parents. So yeah, we go on tour over Christmas. So it's nice, you know, we're at home, spend time with family, which I probably need to do because it's been a long camp.
Can we wrap up now, guys?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Love.